Imagine this. You wake up one morning, staring at the ceiling, and for the first time, you wonder if your life is really yours. Not just the choices you make, but the very thoughts that guide them. The music you listen to, the opinions you defend, the dreams you chase. How many of them were planted in you long before you were old enough to question? We grow up thinking we're free because we can choose between 100 brands, 1,000 channels, 1,000,000 apps. But Aldous Huxley warned us long ago that this kind of freedom is just an illusion. He believed the real prison isn't built from walls or bars. It's built from comfort, distraction, and a world that quietly teaches you not to think too deeply. Huxley wrote Brave New World nearly a century ago, but the world he described feels eerily familiar. A society where people aren't forced into obedience, but lulled into it, entertained, numbed, and disconnected from their true selves. And here's the unsettling part. This isn't science fiction anymore. We live in that world. Every scroll through your feed, every trend you follow, every unspoken pressure to conform shapes your mind in ways you rarely notice. So here's the question. How much of you is truly yours? How much of your identity is a reflection of your authentic self? And how much of it is a carefully crafted mask, designed by culture, media, and the quiet voices of fear and expectation? This isn't just a philosophical exercise, because until you start asking these questions, your life isn't really yours. Huxley believed that waking up, truly waking up, requires courage. It means peeling back the layers of conditioning and facing a truth that most people spend their whole lives avoiding, that we are not as free as we think we are. But here's the good news. Huxley also believed in something deeper. He believed that within every person is a spark, a seed of awareness, waiting to break through the illusion. Life, real life, begins the moment you decide to find yourself, not the version of you the world wants, but the self that's been quietly waiting beneath all the noise. Stay with me, because this journey isn't just about Aldous Huxley's ideas, it's about you. And if you've ever felt restless, trapped, or like something important is missing, what comes next may change the way you see everything. Aldous Huxley didn't just imagine a dystopian future. He understood something deeply uncomfortable about human nature. Most of us don't need to be forced into submission. We will gladly hand over our freedom if it means we feel safe, entertained, and comfortable. That's why Brave New World is so chilling. In Huxley's vision, people don't rebel because they don't even realize they're controlled. There are no tyrants with whips, no armies keeping people in line. Instead, society is built like a soft prison, one where comfort is the lock and pleasure is the chain. Now, think about the world we live in today. The average person spends hours every day scrolling through carefully curated content, moving from one dopamine hit to another. We binge shows, chase likes, follow trends, and call it connection. We mistake noise for knowledge and busyness for purpose. We feel informed, but rarely stop to question the systems feeding us that information. The truth is, Huxley's warning wasn't just about some distant future. It was about us, here and now. He once said, "The victim of mind manipulation does not know that he is a victim. To him, the walls of his prison are invisible." That's the most dangerous kind of control, the kind that doesn't even feel like control. When you believe you are free while being quietly shaped by forces you can't see, you're far easier to manage. And this is where Huxley's insights become terrifyingly relevant. We live in a world where information moves faster than ever, yet wisdom feels scarce. Where individuality is celebrated in words, but conformity is rewarded in practice. We're told we can be ourselves, but only if that self fits neatly into pre-approved boxes. Most people never stop to question this because questioning is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront the possibility that much of your life has been chosen for you. What you value, what you desire, even what you fear. Huxley believed this wasn't entirely our fault. From birth, we are conditioned, not just by governments or corporations, but by family, culture, and tradition. We inherit beliefs like heirlooms, rarely stopping to inspect whether they are true or useful. And the longer we live within this conditioning, the harder it becomes to see it. Like fish unaware of the water they swim in, we mistake our environment for reality itself. But Huxley's philosophy wasn't meant to leave us hopeless. He also believed there was a way out, though it wasn't easy. The path to freedom begins with self-awareness, and that's the hardest step of all. It requires peeling back layers of illusion, not just external ones, but internal ones too. It means examining the subtle ways we avoid discomfort, the ways we hide from our own thoughts. Why do we do this? Because the mind resists discomfort. Most people fill their lives with distraction to avoid silence, because silence has a way of revealing uncomfortable truths. The very act of sitting quietly with your own thoughts can feel terrifying when you've built your identity around noise and movement. Yet Huxley argued that this discomfort is the doorway to real freedom. Only by facing ourselves honestly, without the filters of culture or ego, can we begin to break free of the illusions we've inherited. And here's where Huxley's genius shines. He wasn't simply a critic of society. He was a visionary who believed in the transformative power of consciousness. He saw that humans are capable of extraordinary awareness, but only if we are willing to challenge the comfortable narratives that keep us complacent. That's why he wrote with urgency, not to frighten us, but to wake us up. Because in Huxley's eyes, the tragedy wasn't just that people were being controlled. It was that they didn't even care. They had traded depth for pleasure, wisdom for entertainment, and truth for comfort. Yet beneath all this conditioning, Huxley believed there was still something untouchable, a spark of consciousness that couldn't be manufactured or manipulated. That spark is what makes you feel restless when life feels shallow. It's why you question things other people accept. It's why, even after being shaped by society, part of you longs for something more real, something that feels like you. That longing isn't an accident. It's the sign that you're waking up. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it. The illusion starts to crack. If Huxley was right, then most of us aren't really living, we're sleepwalking. We go through routines, follow trends, and even chase dreams that were handed to us by someone else. Think about it. How many of your choices are truly yours? Did you choose your career because it lights your soul on fire, or because it was safe, respectable, and expected? Did you pick your values carefully, or were they quietly downloaded into you over years of repetition? Huxley believed that one of the most dangerous illusions is the belief that we are fully awake when we're not. It's a haunting thought, isn't it? That much of who you think you are might just be layers of conditioning, polished over time, until you believed they were your true self. And yet, this realization doesn't have to feel hopeless. In fact, this awareness is the first sign of waking up. The moment you start questioning the systems shaping your life, you've already taken a step outside them. But here's the uncomfortable part. Most people will never take this step. Not because they're weak, but because questioning feels like losing control. It feels easier to accept the script that's been written for you. Get the right job, follow the rules, stay entertained, stay quiet. Huxley predicted that this would be the greatest trap of modern civilization. Not oppression through force, but sedation through pleasure. Why would anyone fight when they're comfortable, distracted, and convinced they're already free? And yet, something inside you knows this isn't enough. You felt it in those moments when life feels too small, when you're scrolling endlessly through your phone, or sitting in a room full of people and still feeling alone. That inner voice, the one that whispers that something is missing, is the spark Huxley believed in. It's proof that there is a deeper version of you, buried beneath years of conditioning. That's why this message matters. Not because it's intellectual or historical, but because it's about you. The fact that you're here, listening to this, means you've already started to pull at the threads of illusion. You felt that restlessness, that hunger for something real, and that alone makes you rare. So if this resonates with you, if part of you feels seen right now, hit like on this video. Not for me, but because this kind of content gets buried in the noise, and your engagement helps it reach other people who feel the same way you do. People who are also searching for something deeper, but don't know where to look. Because here's the truth Huxley wanted us to understand. Most of us don't choose who we become. We're shaped by forces so subtle we hardly notice them. Advertising, entertainment, education systems, peer pressure, But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when something powerful happens. The illusion starts to lose its grip. Breaking free isn't about rejecting everything around you or living like a hermit. It's about learning to see clearly. Huxley believed real freedom starts in the mind, not in politics or economics. It's a personal revolution, not a collective one. And this revolution begins quietly, when you start questioning why you believe what you believe, when you notice how much of your life is dictated by external expectations, and when you decide to reclaim it, piece by piece. Huxley wasn't offering a utopia, he was warning us. If we don't wake up, we will be lulled into accepting lives that aren't really ours. And maybe that's why his work feels more urgent now than ever. Because if you're not careful, your life will be decided for you, not with chains or threats, but with convenience, comfort, and distraction. But here's the secret he wanted us to know. Your mind is your last frontier. The system can distract you, influence you, even program you, but it can't take away your ability to see the truth once you've chosen to. That moment of awareness changes everything. Huxley believed that the greatest form of control is not physical chains, but invisible ones, beliefs, habits, and desires so deeply ingrained that you don't even notice they're not your own. He wasn't just talking about politics or economics. He was talking about the way your mind has been shaped from the moment you were born. From your earliest memories, you were told what was good and bad, right and wrong, what was worth chasing, and what was best avoided. And with every repetition, these messages carved pathways in your mind until they felt like truth. It's not that the world is full of villains pulling strings behind closed doors. It's far more subtle than that. It's a teacher telling you to be realistic, a friend laughing at your dreams, a culture that prizes comfort over courage. These small, quiet messages shape who you become, far more than any law or system ever could. And so, without realizing it, most people spend their lives playing a role they didn't choose, following a script they didn't write. Huxley feared that this conditioning would one day become so complete that people wouldn't even notice their own discontent. They would numb themselves with entertainment, drown their doubts in busyness, and dismiss that quiet voice inside, the one that whispers that something's not quite right. He wasn't afraid of dictatorships where people fought for freedom. He was afraid of a world where nobody even wanted it. If this feels heavy, it's because it is. These illusions don't just live out there in society, they live in us. They shape the way we see ourselves, the way we speak to ourselves, and the way we measure our worth. That's why Huxley's message is so piercing. The prison is not just external, it's internal. The walls are built from our fears, our unexamined beliefs, and the lies we've told ourselves so many times they feel like reality. But here's something Huxley understood deeply. If you're even aware of this, you're already waking up. Most people never stop long enough to question why they feel restless, or why happiness feels out of reach no matter what they achieve. But that restlessness is not a flaw. It's a sign of life. It's proof that your true self is still alive under the weight of expectation and conditioning. I want you to pause for a moment and really sit with this. When was the last time you felt truly alive? When was the last time you felt connected, not just to the world, but to yourself? We rarely ask ourselves these questions because the answers can be uncomfortable. But discomfort is the first step toward clarity. And if you're feeling something stirring inside you right now, something you can't quite put into words, I'd like to hear it. Share your thoughts in the comments, not just for me, but because there's a good chance someone else will read your words and feel less alone. This isn't just a video, it's a conversation, a small step toward breaking the illusion together. Because the truth is, awareness grows in community. Sometimes, all it takes to see clearly is knowing that someone else sees it too. Aldous Huxley didn't want to leave us in despair. His writings weren't simply warnings, they were a challenge, a call to wake up. He believed that the illusion controlling us was powerful, yes, but not absolute. The key to breaking free wasn't rebellion against the world, it was awakening within yourself. Freedom, Huxley argued, is not something granted by governments or taken from tyrants. It is an inner state, something no system can truly touch. This is why Huxley became so fascinated by consciousness. In his later years, his focus shifted from dystopian warnings to exploring the vast potential of the human mind. He believed that if we could expand our awareness, if we could see past the narrow limits society imposes on us, we could begin to experience life as it truly is, not filtered through fear, conditioning, or distraction. But awakening is not easy. It requires something rare in a world obsessed with speed: silence, stillness, reflection. Huxley saw that our endless busyness was not an accident, it was a defense mechanism. Because if we were truly still, if we let ourselves feel, we might discover just how much of our life is running on autopilot. And that realization can be terrifying. Yet, it's also the first step toward freedom. Think about the moments in your life when time seemed to stop. Watching a sunset alone, reading a book that spoke to your soul, hearing music that moved you to tears. Those moments feel rare, but they are glimpses of what Huxley believed life could be like if we lived awake. He described the mind as having doors of perception, filters that limit what we see and experience. Most people live their whole lives with those doors barely cracked open. But if you have the courage to push them wider, everything changes. You begin to see that so much of what you've been taught to fear is an illusion. You realize that much of your suffering has come not from reality itself, but from the stories you've been told about who you are and what you're capable of. And slowly, you start to reclaim your life, not in a dramatic, cinematic moment of rebellion, but in quiet, steady steps of awareness. Huxley believed that this awakening isn't something reserved for a select few. It's available to anyone willing to look deeply and honestly within themselves. But here's the paradox. The very systems that keep us distracted also convince us that looking inward is a waste of time. We're taught to measure ourselves by productivity, status, and external validation. Yet none of these things can tell us who we really are. This is why Huxley's message feels so revolutionary even today. It's not about overthrowing a government or escaping society entirely. It's about reclaiming your own mind, choosing to pause in a world that never stops, to question what you've always accepted, to explore the parts of yourself you've long ignored. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to live without that constant, nagging sense of not enough. To move through your day without the fear of judgment or the need to prove yourself. To be grounded in a truth that no advertisement, no trend, and no social pressure could shake. That's what Huxley believed was possible. A state of freedom that isn't dependent on circumstances, but on awareness. And maybe, deep down, you felt glimpses of this. Maybe there have been moments where you sense there's more to life than what you've been told. Moments where you felt something deeper calling you forward. That call is your reminder. You are not just a product of your environment. You are not merely a reflection of your conditioning. You are something far greater than the world has taught you to believe. This is where transformation begins, not with grand gestures, but with a shift in perception. The moment you realize that you've been asleep, you're already waking up. And with each step you take toward awareness, the illusions lose their power. Aldous Huxley believed that most people live their entire lives asleep, not because they're lazy or incapable, but because waking up is uncomfortable. It requires facing truths that are easier to ignore, letting go of illusions that feel safe, and questioning beliefs that have defined us for years. Yet he also believed that beneath all the conditioning, there is something that cannot be silenced. A part of you that knows there's more. A spark of awareness that refuses to die. Maybe you felt it too. In those quiet moments when the noise fades and something deep inside whispers, "This isn't all there is." That whisper is your proof. Proof that no matter how much you've been shaped by the world, there is still a part of you that is yours alone. That spark is your freedom. And it's why Huxley's message is not just a warning, but a gift. Because when you start to see the illusion for what it is, you're no longer trapped by it. You begin to reclaim your life, piece by piece. And this journey doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments. When you pause instead of reacting, when you question instead of accepting, when you choose courage over comfort. Every one of these small acts is a step toward waking up. The truth is, most people will never take this journey. They will continue living in a carefully constructed dream, mistaking comfort for happiness and distraction for purpose. But you don't have to. You wouldn't still be here, listening if something inside you wasn't already stirring. Maybe this is your moment. Maybe this is the sign you've been waiting for, to finally step into your own life. And I want to invite you to take one small step today. If this message resonated with you, if something inside you felt seen or understood, let us know in the comments. Share your thoughts, your reflections, even your doubts. You'd be surprised how many people feel the same way you do, but are too afraid to say it out loud. Your words might be the lifeline someone else needs to hear. If you're ready to keep exploring these ideas, to dive deeper into the wisdom of thinkers like Huxley, Jung, and others, consider subscribing. Not because I need numbers, but because this channel is a space for people like you. People who feel there's something more, who refuse to settle for the illusions handed to them. You're not alone in this journey. Every like, comment, and subscription isn't just engagement. It's a small act of rebellion against a world that thrives on keeping us numb and distracted. It's proof that you're choosing to wake up, even if it's just one step at a time. And as you move forward after this video, I want you to carry one thought with you. Life doesn't truly begin when you achieve something, or when society validates you, or when you finally feel ready. Life begins the moment you choose to find yourself, the version of you that has been waiting beneath all the noise, all the conditioning, all the fear. So I'll leave you with this question. Are you willing to see the truth, even if it's uncomfortable? Are you ready to step out of the dream and into your own life? Because Huxley believed, and I believe, that once you've seen clearly, you can never go back to sleep. Life begins when you find yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that begins right now.